Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Remedies and Realities. If you are enjoying the content, you know the drill. You have to subscribe, like, and share. And again, if you have any suggestions for content or people for me to interview, all you have to do is email me. The email is in the content below. Enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome to the next episode of Remedies and Realities. I'm Angie Blake, your host, and I am so excited to bring you the episode tonight. I have a world-known singer, author, and motivational speaker, and you will not believe her story. She has a great background that is so interesting, and I'm so excited to share with you Ilonka Deaton. Hi,
Angie,
Ilonka.
hi. Thank you. Thank you, Angie, for having me on. I'm very blessed that you would take the time for us to talk. And I'm thrilled just to see what God will do through our time together.
Me as well. Thank you so much. So, as any good journalist, I did my homework and I went and watched a lot of different podcasts with you, and I looked up your website and I watched your music, and you are just fascinating to me. I am so excited to meet you.
Well,
So,
it was very
yeah.
kind. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, thank you for being on with me. So, what I would like to do is I would like to share with my audience, if we can, all the way back to the beginning. And you were in South Africa when your story kind of began, right?
That's correct. Yes, I was raised in just outside Johannesburg, South Africa, single parent family home. My parents went through a divorce when I was around 13 months old. My dad was in the Air Force, pilot in the South African Air Force, and my mom was a language professor. And mom, due to PTSD from my dad, mom, just had to raise us on her own, and she did a fabulous job. She's my hero. I tip my hat to her. She's amazing, and she's still in my life, and she's part of my
Right.
children's lives, and so she's awesome. But I was raised in a broken family, and you know that when there's not a dad present, the enemy loves to wreak havoc on those kind of families, and as he did in our family. Now, even though mom did absolutely the best that she could, it's impossible for one parent to be the mom and the dad, right? Because God designed the family unit to be together, right? So when you have brokenness, it creates a void that can't be filled. And for me, for a period of time, music filled that void. Along with mom's love and nurture and compassion and caregiving, but music and at the end of the day ended up being something that was utilized to take me to a very dark place.
Mhm.
At the age of 12, I won a national singing competition in South Africa, kind of like what you would think of American Idol. That's my base description that I can come up with. And I went through all the different rounds, and I ended up winning it. And I sang, Celine Dion songs, and I ended up winning with singing Whitney Houston's "The Greatest Love of All," which was amazing. And when I won this competition as a 12-year-old, your dreams have just come true.
Yes.
If anyone out there who dreams to be a singer, if you win a competition like that, it is huge. It's amazing. And I won it, and I was thrilled. And my mom agreed that I could make my first album, and that I could, step into that kind of music world. Although I was very much chaperoned by mom, and also by my eldest brother, Jaco Boyens, who's also known in the public eye as, a political pundit and someone who's a fierce fighter against sex trafficking. And everything went fine in my career for almost the first year. And my music manager became kind of like a father figure in my life, taught me lot about music, a lot about the industry, a lot about song selections, how to carry yourself, stage persona, you name it. I went through all the litany of things that artists go through, from training to how you should be on stage to working on my English language, because Afrikaans is my first language, so I had to work on my English dialect. And the PR agents and the publicists that you are working with, and making an album, and it's all so exciting, and it's glitz and glamour, and it's all wonderful. But that came to a halt just shy of a year into my first contract, when that same music manager who had gained my family's trust, my mom's trust, whose children had become my friends who were my age, violated that trust by sexually assaulting me.
Yes, so
And,
he had groomed you for almost a year
right, correct.
and your
Uh,
family.
yes, and predators are very slow and methodical in their
Yes,
approach. They
they're
do not
very
act
patient.
fast. Yeah, they have patience and time, because they know through patience and time you can create a trust within the family system, to where then when you pray, you can force a child to vow silence, because
Yes.
now the family has learned to trust this individual. So if a predator were to prey on a child a week into knowing them, the mother would have no reason to believe the predator, right? Because it's
That's
a trust build, right? But if he works to build the trust in the family and then preys on the child, there could be doubt and questioning. Well, we know this person. They would never do that. He's been your coach for so long, or he has been your teacher, or he has been a family friend, or he is a family member, right? So
Mhm.
that they use that trust they use that trust to really enforce a fortitude of silence around a victim, because they've built the trust with the family. And
Yeah,
that's what
they
happened in
use it
my
against you. Yes,
and that is
yes.
what grooming is. It's really, grooming is nothing more than gaining the trust of the family member, so that when they prey on a victim, that they will not believe the victim, but they will believe the predator, that they would not do something as evil as a child is saying.
So
So
psychologically evil.
it is, but it also shows us how masterful they are in their manipulation,
Yes.
because predators are not dumb.
No.
Think that they're dumb. They're not. They're very calculated and very meticulous in their approach. So a year into, almost a year into my contract, this happened to me, and Angie, I pray that no one would ever be in this situation. But I was present when evil became silent in my presence and threatened to kill my mother if I were to say anything. And as a very bitter young 12-year-old, I just said to myself, well, I can't say a word, because my dad's not in my life. I don't want anything to
She's
happen
all
to
you
my
had. Yes.
dad, right? And so no one asked me to make that vow of, of secret, that secret of silence, but I did. And I went, I was taken
Well,
home.
he asked you. I mean, he forced you. I mean, because as a child, that much put on your shoulders. What else are you going to do?
Right, but within the family system, nobody
Yeah.
asked me to be silent. He threatened me and said he was going to kill
Yes.
my mom if I said anything. I made the decision to not speak up. And I went home. I was taken home. And he reminded me again when he dropped me at home what would happen if I said anything. But I can tell you this, when I walked into my home, my mother knew that I was a changed young lady. And she tried to reach me in so many different ways. From that day, trying to reach me, trying to talk to me, youth group leaders, sleep therapy for 2 weeks in a psychiatric hospital, pastors, counselors, friends. My dad, my biological dad, even noticed it and called Child Protective Services to come and talk to me. And I
Oh.
and I would not utter a word, because I knew if I said anything that he was going to hurt my mom, and I believed it.
Mm.
And I just hoped that it would just never ever happen again, that it was just going to go away. But it didn't. So he would call our home and say to my mom, "Oh, we have all these tour things lined up for Ilonka, and her album is coming out on this date, and this is the release date, and this is the first single, and here's what we want her to do, and can I have a word with her?" And so my mom would put me on the phone, old rotary phones, and I would say hello, and he would say, "You can have all these things if you are a good girl." And I knew what that meant. If I
Hmm.
complied with the silence, I get to have a career. And
Right.
that was made very evident very quickly. If you comply and you play this game, you will climb and you will have a career and you will make good money doing it. And we will allow you to be an artist, but you can't say anything.
And that still takes place today.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have seen with Diddy and Epstein, that
Yes.
is how the entire entertainment industry thrives.
And so, Ilonka, with all of your experiences with trafficking, of course, there's the big, huge Epstein, out there, and all of the Epstein files and the people and release Epstein. Are you familiar with that? And do you have any words of wisdom relating to Epstein?
Yes, I do. And I actually get asked this quite a bit as a survivor within the music industry, which touches so closely to Epstein. Like, what do you think? Why do you think they're not releasing the list? Why is President Trump backpedaling? It seems like he's backpedaling, saying we just need this to go away and all of that. And so here's my response to this. For whatever reason that President Trump doesn't want to release the Epstein files, whether that is a national security issue or if that's a personal issue. I'm not privy to that kind of information. I'm not sure. But here's what I think he can do. When President Trump ran for re-election this time, he promised the American people justice, right?
Yep.
So you had an enormous amount of victims come forth saying, this happened to me, this happened to me, kind of similar to what happened in the Me Too movement. You
Uh-huh.
mobilized a group of individuals who had been kept in silence and in secret, and they came out to support President Trump,
What's
but
up?
they also
Yes.
came out, you have to say like, hey, this happened to me, and I'm willing to stand in the gap. I'm willing to join a class action lawsuit. I'm willing to testify, etc., etc., etc. And now with the list not coming out, it really seems that it's injustice for these victims. So I think our solution to this problem is for President Trump to go back and do what he did in his first term. So in his first term, Ivanka was really caught by the vision of and the heartache of what trafficking is, and that we
Yes.
should do something to help victims, right?
Hmm.
And President Trump did amazing work in his first term. He allocated billions of dollars towards victim services to actually help individuals get healing. Angie, like I explained to you, I've gone through years of trauma therapy. It comes at $150 an hour. It's so multiply that from 25 to 43. It's a lot of money.
Yes.
It's a lot of money to rehabilitate a victim. And so I think that President Trump should go back, revisit what he did in his first term, and allocate more funding towards victims. So all of these victims that have now come up that have supported him to say, hey, I've supported you, I've stood up for you, I voted for you, and I believe that there was going to be justice because I really want the help.
Yeah.
Give them the help that they need through finances. Give them the opportunity to go to counseling, to afford trauma therapy, to sit in a support group so that they can heal, to buy the books and the resources that they need, because the majority of victims do not have the financial resources to do this. And so I
Right.
think that we should, as a nation, stand in the gap and say, look, okay, so we can't prosecute everything Epstein right now. We don't have the entire list, but we can still, as a nation, come around these victims and say that we are going to provide resources for you. He
Yes.
did it in his first term, and I think he should do it again now.
Yes, yes. Oh, I agree. And that seems like such a small step. It seems like something that's so logical, but I mean,
Correct.
I haven't been in his shoes and I'm sure he's not always surrounded by people that, have logical
Well,
thoughts.
it's a big difference, right? And I get asked this question. So, how could President Trump have done so much for trafficking in his first term and not in his second term? And
Yeah.
I'm saying my response to that is, well, it's two very different things. One is victim services, the other one is prosecution.
Yes.
You're asking
Yes.
him to prosecute versus victim services, right? But I think that we can provide victim services while we are trying to figure out the prosecution portion.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
We don't
Definitely.
have to have one or the other. We can have both at the same time, but at least we should continue the victim services portion while we are trying to figure out the prosecution
Mhm.
angle and going forth. And on that note, we Jacoboin's Ministries, we did write a white paper where we are calling upon Congress. We've actively done this. We are taking meetings in Washington where we're actively calling upon Congress for a judiciary hearing, for a Senate hearing, to where we can present why we feel that we should have a standalone human trafficking court so that we can try cases on its merit, that we don't have to dumb them down, that we don't have to give traffickers a slap on the wrist for a drug charge, but we can actually go after them with RICO. We can
Yeah.
go after them for actually trafficking individuals. And right now we can't, Angie, because there's not the pathway in our legal system to do it. So I'll give you an example. So before bankruptcy court existed, there was debtor's prison. So if you owed a lot of money, you could be prosecuted for that, right? Now we have bankruptcy court, but bankruptcy court didn't always exist, right? They had to actually form a court. There was a standalone court specifically for financial distress called bankruptcy court. So if you have to file chapter 11 or chapter 9, you go to bankruptcy court, right? We are proposing that we do the same thing with a human trafficking court, that we form within the Constitution of the United States, that it plainly gives us that we form an anti-human
Yes.
trafficking court similar to the bankruptcy court to say, if you have been charged with trafficking, we have this court system that is going to try your case. And all of the other things will go to civil and criminal court, but we will
Yes.
take care of the trafficking portion. So we are calling upon Congress to have this hearing. We want this hearing. We want to present our findings and why we need this, and hopefully we can bring this one home for the American people so that there can be justice in like the P. Diddy trial and the Epstein trial and the multiple other trials that are out there that have not been prosecuted fairly.
Yes. Oh, that is awesome. That's great. Where can I find more information on that?
Absolutely, you can find that on my website,
Okay.
ilonka.com, or you can find it at helpjbm.org. We
Both of
have
those.
our list, yeah, the white paper listed, and what we're doing, we have op-eds in the Epoch Times and several other publications about this, calling for a standalone anti-human trafficking court.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. It kind
Mhm.
of will cut through some of that red tape and just get straight down to to the bones of what the case
Yeah,
is.
and to have lawmakers, judges,
Yes.
attorneys actually specifically trained for these kind of cases, right?
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
difficult. If you have a crime, you want to match. If there's a murder, you want to match a weapon to that murder. How was this done, right? Well, how do you do that in human trafficking?
Uh-huh.
It's not a
Exactly.
physical, it's someone's body part. How do you do that, right? You can't.
Yes.
And so it's extremely difficult to try these cases, but if we do have a standalone court that specifically is trained and focuses on that, and that is trauma informed, that
Hmm.
provides victims with a trauma informed space to actually testify, that is not intimidating to them. Courtrooms are very intimidating for victims. They don't
Yes.
want to testify.
Mm-mm.
If we could create a space for them to do that, we would see an uptick in testimonies of what is.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. That's awesome news. Yeah, we want to push that forward, and I'll definitely look into that more and do more research and put that out to anybody that I know. Oh, sounds
Please do.
great.
And we can provide ample research. You know, we spent 2.5 years, over almost $3 million in the research for the white paper to prove that this is what we need to do. And it's a good, solid argument. It's a good, solid case. And I do think that it deserves to be heard by the Senate Judiciary Committee. And not just in the entertainment industry, the music industry, film industry, and sport industry looks very much the same when it comes to trafficking. We are not taken across borders. We are sent home. Okay? It's very different than trafficking from the border when we
Yeah.
talk about hotel or children being sold into slavery. In the music industry and film and in sports, they take your talent, they exploit your talent and say, if you want to be a star, you are going to do this. This is what you're going
See,
to do.
I wasn't even calculating in the sports industry. Of course,
Okay.
film and music, but yeah, sports too.
I would even go as far as to say that the sports industry is the most silent industry when we talk about trafficking, sex trafficking. But if you look at what FIFA and the United Nations have done around every single World Cup for soccer, and you look at their campaigns against trafficking for athletes, it'll blow your mind. Because unlike me, I grew up in a middle class family, and the trafficking that happened with me was with extremely wealthy Fortune 500 companies, CEOs, record companies, oil companies, gas companies that were making deals, right? If you look at the sports industry, you're looking at some children who grow up in third world countries who have extreme gifts and talents to play sports, but they literally live in a grass hut or they live in a shack. And they
Hmm.
take that child and they exploit them. They use their talent. They make so much money off of them. They use them for sex because that's how they blackmail them to keep silent. And the money never goes back to them and their families,
Oh
ever.
my goodness.
That's
Wow.
trafficking in the sports industry. And it happens a lot. It happens in rugby, cricket, soccer, you name it, around the world. It just does. And it's horrific and I hate that. But it does look very different when we talk about the entertainment industry modeling and sports and what it does when we talk about a child being sold to the cartel and brought into the United States, right? Because they're literally being moved across state lines. In
Yes.
the entertainment industry, you don't get moved across state lines. You go home.
No, my last interview that I did earlier this week, she's running for state representative, and what brought her to that and wanting to make laws and create bills for our state is that her daughter came to know somebody who she trusted very much, and she ended up getting sold into human trafficking, and they killed her.
Oh, I'm so
And so she started, just looking at the human trafficking laws, and there were basically none in Texas. So she started passing these laws and then got approached by people that, she needed to have a position of power where she could make more laws about that. So, yeah, when she said everybody thinks that it's a white van and they're moving people across, state lines or country lines even, or overseas, she said it's not always that. It's just
no,
not always.
it's not. And we have ample evidence, even for those that have not spoken up in the entertainment industry, we have ample evidence within the public view, of individuals who were groomed as kids, a lot of the kid stars, who this exact same thing happened to them, to where they said, "You make this vow with us, you play the game, you comply, and you can be a star." But they really rob your soul, and
Yeah.
they change your identity. So. Within the, I was kept in that for almost six years. I was unintentionally rescued out of that at 17 years old by undercover cop. Physically, I was rescued out of that when I was being brutally physically attacked by the same manager. And it was a day that I just thought, you know what? I don't care if I die today. I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight back because you are not sexually assaulting me one more time.
But
Because through the 6 years that I've gone through, my name was changed so that it would cause me to disassociate from myself and my identity, which is a ploy from the enemy because the
mm,
enemy has to. Now, what other field do we know where that happens to where your name changes? We know that in the transgender world, right? They force you
mhm,
to change your name so that you can disassociate from who you actually are and who God created you to be originally, right? And if they can be successful at doing that, they can pretty much control you and ask
yes,
you to do anything for them. And
yes.
so I was physically rescued at 17, but emotionally I was a mess. I was a wreck. I had no idea who I was, who I needed to be in life, and I just wanted to run. I wanted to run
Hmm.
from my emotions and just run away from anything that had anything to do with that part of my life. So when we immigrated to the United States in 2001, it was after my graduating year of high school. I had just turned 19, so 17 to 19, so it was about a year and 2 months. I walked into the United States and we moved to Nashville because I wanted to pursue music. I just came up with a narrative of who I was and I created a story and I stuck to that narrative and I sold it to people and just lied. and said, "This is who I am. I come from a great family. My parents were together. This is what I went through, and this is who my parents are." And I lived that life for almost 5 years until I couldn't anymore. And let me tell you something, Angie, when you lie to keep secrets in your life,
Yeah.
make a mistake, it catches up with you 100% of the time.
Yes. Yes.
You can't lie yourself out of what you have experienced in trauma, what you
Mhm.
have gone through, and what you are trying to hide from people. It just doesn't work.
And you can't run from yourself. I mean, you just can't do it.
You just,
So some people, for instance, another friend of mine, her father was in the CIA and he, put her into that program and she literally split into several personalities. I think she had maybe 13 personalities. It took her multiple years to combine everything, and to heal from that. But you did not split off. You just compartmentalized when that was going on to survive that moment. But you still remembered and knew things that had happened to you.
absolutely. I think that, and this is not, I'm not putting myself above anyone else because I think we're all the same. But I can remember as a very young 13-year-old being faced with a decision. Ilonka, you're going to have to be smart. If you are going to survive what's happening to you and protect your family, you are going to have to play this game when by this other name. This is who you are when you're with them, and you're gonna have to hide Ilonka from them and be Ilonka to the rest of the world. Because remember, I went to school. I was Ilonka at school. I still had to write exams. I was captain of the hockey team. I still had
Wow.
to do all that, right? So for being at home, I am Ilonka. But when I was in the circus of trafficking and performing and being taken to these parties, and when they did all these nefarious things, I was known by this other name. And that is the part that I played almost like an actor. So I can remember thinking there's a phrase that says the show must go on, right? You know that phrase,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And I can just remember reciting that to myself like the show must go on. This is who you are here. This is not who you are there. But it's still a cognitive decision, a survival decision to make.
Yeah.
Now, I was never diagnosed with dissociation to where I would have multiple or split personalities. Praise God, I did not. It's different for everybody in these
Yes.
circles, right? Although
Yes.
the trauma was extreme high T trauma and some small T trauma as well, to the point to where I continued, you know, this is the disassociation choice of saying this is who I am as an
Yep.
adult, lying, right, about who I
Yes. It had
but
worked for you though. Yeah.
it was how I survived.
Yes.
And but it didn't work I mean it didn't work until when I was 25 years old. It all came crashing down when I couldn't hold the secrets together anymore because God brought everything that I kept in the basement of my soul. He kind of brought up and said, okay, it's time for us to deal with this because I have bigger plans for you.
Was there a particular instance that made that happen?
Yeah, there sure was. I re-signed another record deal in Nashville, and I was standing in the record company's office with the A&R representative to my career at that time, and the CEO of the company, and we were discussing the songs that I had selected. It was just a production meeting, and I had walked away to get a cup of coffee. It's going to be kind of a long, lengthy 2 hour meeting. I stepped away and got a cup of coffee. But as I stepped away, the two of them were talking about something that had just broken the news. And it was about the Man Boy Love Association NAMBLA, where Barney Frank was making another push to lower the age of consent for boys and that pedophilia should be legalized. And although that had nothing to do with my story, Angie, it felt like those two individuals were directly talking about me. Like they had
Yes.
somehow found out what I had been hiding for all of these years, and I've been found out, and the shame and the guilt and the condemnation spilled over me like the Niagara Falls.
Wow.
And I could not stop what I was feeling. I could not pull it back in. I could not contain it. I couldn't control it. And I started crying, standing at this record company in their break room, getting a cup of coffee. And I
Oh,
couldn't stop crying. And so they asked me what was wrong, if somebody did something, if something happened. I couldn't explain it, and I just literally just ran out of the record company's offices and
out of
left.
the meeting. That was in the middle of a meeting.
So how do you
Mm.
explain that? How do you explain like you're talking about something that I went through? You, I can't bring it together because this has been a secret that I've hidden for 12 years then, right? And so I left and I could not stop crying for 2 weeks. I just kept sobbing, just could not contain it. I was married at the time. I got married at 19 and to a really, really nice guy who was a really good friend, but we were never really, in love. And this is before I surrendered my life to the Lord.
Hmm.
And I I had to go to him and just like best way to say this is I just had to vomit everything that had happened to me as a child, out on the kitchen table and confess that I had lied to him, for the 5 years of our marriage. And it devastated him that I would lie, first of all, like that, and that he really didn't know me because he honestly didn't know me. I never gave him the chance to really get to know the true person that I was. He only knew the person that I pretended to be. And the marriage could not sustain that kind of devastating lies and trauma. And we ended up going through divorce, which was a blow because I never wanted to be a person who had gone through divorce like my
Hmm.
parents. I did
Right.
that stigma, like, and I always vowed, like, I will never be like my parents. I'm never gonna go through divorce. And here I am,
But did
25.
you have children with him?
I did
No
not
children. And have you stayed in
have
contact with him
kids.
at all? Does he know your story?
No, I have no idea. I have
Wow.
we separated ways and I said I will take this part of
Hmm.
Nashville and you can keep the other part of Nashville. And we
Wow.
kind of parted ways. But I've always been very honest with my portion and my part, my part in that. And so we went through this divorce, and I, tried to press on to the point where I ended up attempting suicide.
Yeah.
And because the music industry crashed in 2008, a lot of artists lost their deals, and I was one of them. And music was the only lifeline that I ever used to survive what I was going
Yes.
through.
Yes.
And God mercifully took that away from me and said, I have to get you to come to the end of yourself here so that you can see me.
He
And
does that. Yeah.
yeah, he does. And it wasn't cruel. It was really in his mercy and his grace because he loved me so much that he
Hmm.
wanted me to come to him for the kind of help that I needed.
Yes.
He knew that no music, no book, no therapist was gonna be able to save me. But after I got out of the psychiatric hospital, I entered trauma therapy. And this is again before I knew the Lord. And I went from trauma therapist to doing groups to doing EMDR work and music therapy and everything, but nothing worked, Angie. It just didn't work. I mean, I would go, but I would still feel the same. I still had suicide ideation. I still had severe depression. Most days I wanted to die. I could not get myself to move forward no matter how hard I tried. And in 2008, I was invited. I was dating my husband Bill at the time. It was before we got married, and I was invited to go to church with him. A friend of his called him Scott Rowley and said, "Hey, I'm the pastor at this church called Christ Community," and they'd known each other for a while. And God really woke me up in the middle of the night to invite you to church. And whoever this girl is that you're living with, just come to church. Now, Bill had given his heart to the Lord when he was 17, so he had a conviction of the Lord, and he knew that where we were as a couple wasn't right, and that something had to give. So. He invited me. I didn't want to go. I didn't feel like church people. I just,
Right?
had big
Church?
hair,
No.
walking skirts.
I did the same. I was in your shoes, girl.
I'm like, this is not my people. I mean, I don't dress to do beach photos and all of these things. I am the outlier. I am the other, right? I am the people they don't want to visit with.
Yes.
And but this particular church is the largest music community at the time. It was the largest community music community church in the area, where Michael W. Smith, Stevie Curtis Chapman, Amy Grant, all of these artists went to this church. Even Bob Carlyle, who sang Butterfly Kisses, they went to this church because the pastor, Scotty Smith, was a mentor to a lot of them and
Wow.
understood music and had family members who played for the Four Tops. And, so that it was just a music community. And so Bill said, Ilonka, I know these pastors and they are music industry people. We should just go. And so I went reluctantly, dressed just the way that I was in a mini skirt and all this stuff. And when we got to the church, he said, well, the pastor said, well, just sit in front so that you two can pay attention and we'll just let God, figure out the rest. And a congregant member by the name of Jane looked at me and she said, you look like a lot of fun. How about you come and sit with me? And I sat next to her and I ended up being friends with Jane from that point forward till now.
Oh,
An amazing woman because she didn't judge me. She
yes.
could very easily judge me. She knew
Yeah.
that I needed the grace of Jesus, and she was going to invite me to sit with her to make me feel welcome. And I'm so thankful
Mm.
that that she did that because it could have been different. It could have been that someone judged me and I walked out of that
Yep.
church.
She
And that
sounds like a beautiful soul.
she absolutely is. And I heard that a message of grace of Scotty Smith preaching a message of the unveiled hope of Jesus, and that Jesus was for you, that he's not against you, that there was a million ways to come to him, and that he would lead you. That is the one way to the Father, and that he would be your bridge, and that he would love you and give you compassion and heal whatever is broken in your life, and that he could be the salve for those bleeding wounds. And Angie, when I left that church service, my heart ached to have what this man was talking about, but I had no understanding of how do I bridge the gap? How do I go from where I am to where this man named Jesus is and bridge this gap? Because I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up Dutch Reformed. I grew up knowing Scripture. I grew up revering and fearing God, but God was an eye in the sky and he was not actively present in my life. So how do I bring this together? And we left the church. I got in a horrific argument with Bill. This wasn't his fault. I could only emotionally cry if I had something tremendously difficult happen to me.
Yeah.
And I smashed his sports car with a stick, like his windows and his lights in. And I attempted suicide the second time that day. And I attempted to run into the street, and Bill caught me, brought me back into the house. And I was just so exhausted, from running for so many years and collapsed in the foyer of the home. Bill prayed for me. And then I audibly, and this is just my story, Angie, this is different for everybody, but I audibly heard God's voice when he said,
Yes.
Ilonka, you've tried all of these different things. You've tried the book, The Secret, you've tried therapy, you've tried positive thinking, you've tried medicine, but you will not call out to me. Why won't you? And I said, okay, if you are the Jesus that that pastor said you are, then please come because I feel like I want to die. And he showed up, Angie, in a peaceful way. He showed up in a restful way. He gave me a lot of rest. I slept for 18 hours that night. And when I woke up, the depression that I had physically on my body, like a person on me for 12 years of my life, was lifted. And
Yes.
my eyes were physically open to see creation. And when I say that, I mean physically open. I had not seen trees for 12 years. I had not heard birds sing for 12 years.
Oh,
I was
goodness.
so cut off from God's creation. And I want people to hear this. When you have a family member or a victim that has experienced high T sexual trauma, the enemy cuts them off from all creation, anything that's beautiful in creation, so that they only have to focus on surviving what they're going through. And it was like that with me. I was in awe of trees that I'd seen. I didn't believe that they were there. I was in awe of birds that I heard singing. I couldn't believe that my ears were hearing such beauty. I knew that I changed. I couldn't explain it, what had happened to me, because I didn't necessarily do anything special. And when I shared with Bill hearing God's voice, I prefaced it by saying that I thought that I was bipolar because I'd been through enough therapy to, self-diagnose myself. And he said,
Right.
and he just said, no, Ilonka, it sounds to me like you really surrendered for the first time in your life to the Lord, to Jesus. And I said, okay, well, let's do that again. And he said, but you don't need to do that again. And I said, no, but I have to do that again. And he said, no, Ilonka. And I said, you don't understand. This is the first time in 12 years that I don't wake up wanting to die. This is the first time in 12 years.
That's remarkable.
I got to pray this again. And so for 6 months, I would kneel down and pray the salvation prayer. And I was
Oh,
desperately holding on to the Lord. I even recorded an entire album called Holding On of just me holding on to the Lord. And then I realized, oh, hang on a second. Grace holds on to me. I don't hold on to the Lord. He holds on to me because he loves me. He loved me first. It's not about me. It's not about my performance. It's
so
not about how good
comforting.
I am. Oh, it's resting
Yes.
and peaceful and comforting.
Yes. Peace, which is
Amazing.
something you probably had not known for most of your life.
Right.
Peace. Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
And after that, it took a lot of time continuing walking through trauma therapy. I'm 43. So from 25 to 43, I've had years of trauma therapy, years of group support therapy, EMDR work, music therapy, art therapy, you name it. I still go to counseling and therapy. If anything comes up for me, I go back immediately. I'm a big advocate for people stepping into a counseling place because God really does work through counselors to bring you to a place to see things anew, to help you to understand your Emmanuel moments, to invite God into those deep, hurtful places in your life, to invite Him to see where He was in that. And I know that that can sound triggering for some people listening to this. If you are in a place where you've not walked this out, be encouraged that God does. He does show up and He does show you where He was, His response in those horrific moments, and that He actually weeps with you,
yeah.
when you walk this out. So I like therapy. I like counseling. It always helps me grow. And I've become comfortable, doing it. It is kind of like walking through a house that's on fire, but the fire doesn't burn you and you make it alive to the other side, is the
That's
best way that I can
crazy.
describe therapy. And and because of all of what I've gone through, I made a vow to use my singing voice and my speaking voice, which, by the way, I never wanted to be a speaker. I only wanted to sing, uh, to glorify God in all that I do and to say, this is where I was in the darkness, but let me tell you that the light and the hope and the joy of where God has taken me surpasses any of the darkness. And it really hits home the verse in the Bible when God says, what He meant for evil,
Yeah,
I will turn for good, and I will
that's right.
redeem your life and restore your life. And God is so powerful to do that, and He does. If you'll allow Him, He
Yeah.
100% will do it.
Yes. So you said you grew up in a Christian home. You were familiar with all of that, but you just never felt the relationship with God, or you were focused more on music and maybe that was your idol, or what do you think? What do you think it was?
Well, I think similar to the Baptist church, in the Baptist church in America, you have to work out your salvation with the Lord, and that is biblical. But in the Baptist church, you have to prove, like, look busy, Jesus is coming, right? You've got to prove that you are going to earn
Right.
your place with the Lord, right?
Yes.
Similar to that in the Dutch Reformed Church, because we really believe in election, like the Presbyterian Church, that we are chosen by God. You are elected into the body of Christ. There's a covenant theology with you and the Lord, that God is He's omnipotent, but He is kind of this eye in the sky, and you are on earth. And although He's watching over you, He is what Bette Midler's song is, from a distance. God is watching you from a distance, right? And so
Hmm.
he's there and you're here, and he's not really actively involved in your life because you've been elected. You are
Right.
part of the body of Christ, and so you're just going to go through your life and you're going to go through it. However, the Dutch Reformed Church, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, failed tremendously at teaching grace. They do not teach the grace of Jesus, and the gift of grace at all. They teach the reverence of God. They teach the fear of the Lord very well.
Mm.
Intellectually, they will teach you scriptures like you can't imagine, and you will have a
Hmm.
greater understanding of the letters of Paul and John and Mark and Matthew and Luke and the law, the Old Testament law. But they do not teach you that the work is finished, that Jesus finished the work, that you sit and you receive his grace, and it's because of his grace and mercy that you then act, right? You don't work to earn getting into heaven. It is a response of his grace and mercy that you work because you love him so much and because of his outpouring of love in your life. It's a very
Yes.
different. So it's a difference between law and grace, right?
Right. No, you can never earn your way into heaven. That's not possible for human beings. We can
Right.
never earn enough to get into heaven.
Right.
It's only by the grace of
But
God.
yet the Baptist Church in America still operates under law.
Oh, I know. Growing up, I had deep Southern Baptist and Church of Christ shoved down my throat. So,
There you go.
yeah,
It's law versus grace. And so
yes.
I did not meet Jesus until I was presented with the true gift of grace that God gave us through Jesus. That's when I met him. It's a very
Wow.
big difference. Yeah.
Beautiful
I didn't have
story.
to work anymore. How can you take a child who has gone through what I had gone through, and now somehow I have to prove to God that I'm worthy enough to
Right.
make it
No,
to heaven? There's
not
no
even
way.
possible. No.
No. But once you understand that, hold on a second, it's actually not about you at all. It's about that he died for me before I was even born. And his grace and his mercy covers all of this. And when he looks at me with every single situation that I went through, he says to me, "Come to me. You are worthy because I made you worthy, because of
Mhm.
my sacrifice for you." And it
Mhm.
does not matter if you are addicted to drugs today, if you are smoking, if you are drinking, if you have done nefarious things, if you've lost your family, whatever it is that you've gone through, there's a million ways to come to me. Come, and I will restore you. Follow me, and I will
Yeah.
heal you and help you. It's a very beautiful, it's a love story. It is
Yes.
the most beautiful love story I've ever experienced in my life, and he is absolutely the love of my life. Jesus
Oh.
is all of that, and
Oh.
remarkable, that I get to live and experience that. Because I look at our world today and I'm like, there's so many people who, if they could only, if they could only experience a pinky size of the portion of His grace, their lives would be changed, right?
Yes. So are you still in the Nashville area? Where are you now?
Yes, we're in the Franklin area. Yeah, Franklin area, and still as much in music as ever before. God multiplied my platform by becoming a speaker and
Yes.
speaking up for him and for victims. I'm a huge advocate for victims. I've
Yes.
also entered into some serious policy work. I love doing policy work in changing laws to protect our kids.
There you go.
I have kids, and I know how important it is to push back against evil. This is continual push to push back the effects of the fall. And so when we look at the effects of the fall and we see everything that Satan has laid out to destroy our kids, because there's really a war on our children, we
Yes.
have to push back. And so that happens by changing laws and implementing policies and educating parents and letting them
Educating.
know, yeah, like what is going on in your schools, the things that they need to know about. And so I've been very privileged to work with my brother's organization out of Dallas, Jacob Boyens Ministries. I am the director of advocacy for them, and I work in the policy arm. And so we have changed a lot of laws, and we have been involved in 3 Supreme Court cases. One which was Free Speech Coalition versus the state of Texas Paxton, which was Pornhub. I mean, Free Speech Coalition's biggest client is Pornhub. And we were part of the age verification pushback to go, you are not going to show pornography to our kids. You are not going to go away with age verification and put that on parents. There's no way, no how you are doing this. And we entered that fight and we won. Praise God, we won. Our state banned it, and it's been put back on Pornhub to age verify individuals if they so choose to rot their brains by viewing pornography, which is really just a deeper search of intimacy with God, is what that is.
Yes. Yeah.
So I don't
So
judge anybody, but you know,
Yucca's organization is in Dallas. I'm
yes.
in Fort Worth.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I'm very close to him. So do you come to visit him?
I do. I do about once a month. I'm in Dallas, for work, and I travel around the nation too for them. And yeah, from DC to California to wherever we need to go and put up a fight, we go and put up a fight. I'll be in Fredericksburg in October, speaking to a women's retreat for a church there, and of course, being with Laura as well.
Yes, that's
And
right. I've been to her house in Fredericksburg. Yes.
yeah, but I'm also speaking for Mercy Cultures, their Justice Reform Mission.
So
Um,
I go to Mercy Culture. There's several, of course, there's several
yes,
campuses, but the one
yes.
that's here in Fort Worth, I go to that one several times too. Yes.
Gosh, Mercy Culture, Landon and Heather Scott are amazing people. And
Yes.
I love what that church stands for. And every single time we go, and I have my kids and the cousins together, they all go and, to the
Oh,
church, which is remarkable. We
some of the
do
fun.
have, specifically for trafficking, I have a single release that is called Angel that I actually did with Yaku. It's a project called Twang and Testify, where we showed, it's a it's a video for mainstream audiences. It's not just for Christian audiences, but it's where we show how victims carry shame on their bodies. And so in the particular music video, I have words written all over my skin. That I don't have tattoos, but it's written with makeup all over my skin of things that victims feel: shame, guilt, condemnation, fear, torn, all of these words. And in the video, we show how Jesus helps us to wash those negative words off of us, and how he replaces those thoughts. When we say we're not enough, he says, but I am enough. And when we say, well, I'm unclean, he says, but I'm making you clean. And when we say, I'm not loved, and he goes, but I've loved you first. And all of these, exchanges between him. So
Thank you. I love that so much. So where can people find you? What's the best place? I'm sure you're all over the place. Where all can go to follow
yeah.
you?
So for those who just like a website, it's ilonkadeaton.com. I've got most of the articles, white papers, position papers, amicus briefs, everything that I've worked on policy-wise is on there as well. If you're a social media person, I'm all over TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and my handle is just at the real Ilonka, and that's Ilonka, where people can find me. Yeah. And then if it's for our organization, if you're someone who wants to learn more about trafficking, how to get in the fight, how to educate yourself as a parent or a grandparent, I would urge you to go to helpjbm.org, helpjbm.org. And we have ample resources for anyone, whether you're a nurse or a counselor or a therapist or just someone, a mom, dad, grandparent who wants to get in the fight. We can help educate you on what you can do.
That is so good. Oh, your story is heartbreaking and motivating and encouraging, and it's just so many levels. And I'm so thankful to Trevor that I got to meet you and that I got to talk to you tonight and that you have been able to share your story with my audience. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
spending time.
Angie. Thank you. And if anybody wants to get my book, it's on Amazon. It's called Secret Freedom, and it's got a workbook portion in it. So if you're someone that's still walking through trauma, there is some trauma help for you in there, some questions to ask, and some additional resources. Or if anyone wants to get involved in policy work, we always need an army of people to change laws.
Yes.
It blows my mind that the most influential people that I have met who change laws are mothers. They're not
Yes,
lawmakers. They
that's
are
right.
not sitting senators. They're not attorneys. They are
No.
moms who have a passion for doing something good for their kids.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
please, if God is pulling on your heart to be involved, please get involved with us. We could
Yes,
definitely use your help in this fight.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Ilonka. Such a pleasure to meet you.
God bless you, Angie, for what you do. And I pray just a blessing over you. Lord, I'm just going to pray for you right now. Lord, I just pray that you would bless Angie, that you would bless her words, the calling and the ministry in her life, interviewing individuals. Holy Spirit, go before her, behind her, and with her, Lord. Father, I pray that as you put this interview out, Lord, for anyone out there, Lord, that you would touch their heart, Lord, that you would draw them to you, Jesus, because you are the only one that has the gift of grace that can help them and save them, Lord. We thank you for this time and we lift it up to you. Amen.
Amen.
Angel headed out of town. Let me pick your halo up off the ground. Tell me, do you think I'm too far gone? I've almost forgot what's right from wrong.
Are you as lost as me? Oh, I could be good company.
They say the price of love is lost. Sooner or later, we all have to pay the cost. No, nothing's free. Can you do me a favor? While I've got you here, if you don't care, when you get home and get unpacked, could you ask? 'Cause I think my prayers fell through the cracks.
Maybe my prayer was a little too heavy. Maybe God thought I just wasn't ready.
I might be speaking out of line. Oh, but I'm gonna pray it one more time. We made the moon, the stars, and you and me. All I'm saying is how hard can it be? No more goodbyes. So can you do me a favor? While I've got you here, if you don't care, when you get home and get unpacked, could you ask? 'Cause I think my prayers fell through the cracks. Is the seat taken? Can I tag along?
If you don't mind, I'll follow you home.
Angel headed out of town. Let me pick your halo